On Divorce Court today, do subliminal suggestions really work? Not for this couple. Roxy says Paul is always saying sexy things under his breath that only she can hear, but that has not led to any more intimacy. In fact, she says, he spends more time with their cats than he spends with her. Roxy Robertson and Paul Branham have brought their dispute for Judge Lynn Toler to resolve. Testimony in Divorce Court before your vows starts now.
Ms. Robertson and Mr. Brahman, you two have come here because you are in love, you are considering getting married, but there are some issues, and you're not quite sure. You brought me your marriage license with permission to tear it up should I think this union is ill-advised. You also filled out my compatibility test, which we will talk about a little later. But before we do, Mrs. Robertson, I'm going to start with you. Why do you love him, but are not quite sure that marriage is the way to go?
I love Paul with all my heart, but he is so hypersexual. I'm not talking like 2-3 times a day. I'm talking 5 to 8 times a day. Also, he's just sexually explicit in all the wrong ways. I had recently an uncle who got sick, and he was in the hospital, and he was not doing well, and so I was crying on the couch. Like, I was messed up about it. His way of comforting me was to grab a boob. It was a boob grab for comfort. I tried to explain to him that that's not what I needed right now, and I just needed a hug and some comfort and to be told that it would be okay. But apparently that's not what he thought was the way to show affection in that case. Also, he does this thing where he subliminally implants words into conversation when he's talking to me.
Now, how does he do that?
So he'll be going along, having a very regular conversation, being like, oh, well, no, and everything's going great in sex, and then everything else. So he will implant the word sex or boob or any other word that he finds or deems, acceptable for the time into conversation, and we'll be out with people. We will be in public. We will be with friends. Hasn't done it around family.
And he just blurts out sexual things.
He tries to slide it in there. Like, he'll whisper it to only where I can hear it. Yeah.
Mr. Branham?
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm well. How are you, Judge?
I'm doing fine, thank you. First of all, you are who you are, and I can't get mad about that. You know,
we gotta try.
Is she exaggerating your sexual drive?
No.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Do you try to slip in sexual words in the middle of a conversation to give her ideas about what you would like her to do?
Deal, boobs. I mean, just go into the store and boobs, and we'll get some milk, and then maybe we'll get some eggs and boobs, and we'll go home and make some dinner boobs.
Do you see
what do you do for a living?
I make men's grooming products.
You make men's grooming products. You got a very nice mustache
yes,
there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you make mustache wax
I make
too?
Mustache wax and beard oils and pomades and everything
And
a
are
man
you a
needs to look good
salesman?
and smell good. Yes, I am.
Well, you're probably good too. You do well, don't you?
I do, yes.
Yeah. He got that personality. He's got that personality. Now, let's talk about when her relative wasn't feeling well. Did you really feel that a boob grab was an appropriate response to
yes, I did.
concern?
Yes. Well, you see, I look at it as a pleasant distraction. You're feeling upset. You can't really quite get your mind off of this unpleasantness. Little boob grab, see where it goes. Then you're not thinking about it so much. You're not so sad. You have some distance from the problem, gain a different perspective. Head's a little bit clear. I mean, it's...
Okay. Mr. Branham, you say that oddly enough, Ms. Robertson treats you like a child. Explain that to me.
Well, I've got a really bad sweet tooth. It's something that I've dealt with for a long time. I eat candy like it's going out of style. And we were staying with my grandparents one time. My grandma had made a big batch of cookies. I love my grandma very much. I love my grandma's cookies. I hadn't had them in quite some time. So, needless to say, I went a little bit buck wild on the cookies. I had maybe 8 or 10 or 12 or 14 cookies. I'm not really sure. I went to reach for the next cookie, and she says, much like a mother would, don't you do it. Not one more cookie. You had too many cookies. And I'm like, well, I'm a grown man. I can have as many cookies as I want. I don't really see what the problem is. She's like, no, you have too many cookies. You're going to get diabetes. I'm not going to let you get diabetes. I love you, blah, blah, blah. So reach my hand in the bag. She's telling me no, don't do it. Pull the cookie out, look at her, and I get ready to take a bite, and she reaches up and smacks it out of my hand. Just straight smacks the cookie out of my hand, and then before I can pick it off the ground, she stomps on it like a cigarette. Crushed my cookie into the bricks. My cookie that my
Mrs.
grandmother
Robertson,
made for me. She crushed it into the bricks.
He is a grown man, and if he wants to eat a half a bag or an entire bag of cookies, why do you feel the need to stop him?
This was directly after he'd said, wow, I really need to stop eating so much sugar, and wow, I really want six-pack abs for summer, and I really want this and that. And I'm like, well, don't eat 12 cookies.
Yeah.
He told me to. He told me. He's like, you know, if you see me eating too many sweets, let me know. I let him know.
Being smacked out of my hand?
But I let you know, didn't I?
Mr. Brown, let me... We're not supposed to be touching one another in anger. We learned this in kindergarten. Hands to ourselves unless we're being kind to one another.
And it's rude to step on a cookie.
Mr. Brown, let me ask this. You know, when you get married, because you're considering marrying this extraordinarily beautiful woman over here, that part of the marriage thing is we pick at you about your health. Men live for an average 3 years longer when they're married than when they're single, simply because we do that. I bother my husband about his high blood pressure pills. Why do you wait till the bottle's empty to tell me you need more? You tell me before the bottle is empty that you need more. But now the brother doesn't have high blood pressure, and I take credit.
All right.
So all I'm saying is, you have the right to eat as many cookies as you want to. But if you get married, you're going to hear about it. That's all I'm putting out there for you.
All right.
You two see, I like you people. I do.
Next, for this couple, which is more annoying? An obnoxious and drunk Roxy? Or Paul when he won't disturb a sleeping cat? Your mama warned you not to marry your mate. If she was right and divorce is your best option, call toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or visit our website at divorcecourt.com. Become a fan at facebook.com/divorcecourt. Real people, real conflict, real judgments. Divorce Court continues.
Ms. Robertson, you say that Mr. Branham is an unpleasant drunk.
Oh, no.
No.
I'm the unpleasant drunk.
She's
Oh,
the
you're the
unpleasant drunk.
unpleasant drunk. My bad.
I've got a tiny little liver. She's the nasty drunk.
Tell me how much she drinks and what she does when she's drinking.
It's not that she drinks a lot. It's that she will drink liquor without having eaten any food.
Uh-huh.
And so that liquor hits her real fast, and then she gets kind of saucy. And so, you know, it's one of those things where I might look at her a certain way, or I'll be humming something, or I'll make a comment, and it'll turn on this kind of nasty, like, sort of thing that she'll do. And it's not that she necessarily says anything specifically mean or hurtful, but it's just kind of a nasty, belligerent attitude.
She's got tude.
She's got tude. Well, one night we were driving home, and it was like probably an hour and a half drive, 70 miles, something like that. It's blustery, it's wintertime, it's way up north, so there's snow everywhere. I'm really trying to focus on the road, and she's had a few. And she's doing her loud kind of attitude kind of thing. And I'm just not really having it. I need to focus, so I turn the radio on. And I turn it up kind of loud, because I just don't want to hear what she has to say. Well, she knew the words to the song that was on the radio. She started singing them at the top of her lungs. So I turned the station. She knew those words also. And I turned the station again, and she knew those words. And so I just started punching the dial until I found static, thinking, okay, I'm going to turn the static up, and this is going to be fine. I'm just going to listen to static for another hour. She started singing to the static, harmonizing, just, just making up music and songs to go along with the static.
So she's not an angry drunk. She's just
She's an obnoxious drunk.
We came, obnoxious drunk. Ms. Robertson, he and I came to the same word together. Do you think that maybe that is an accurate description of you in an inebriated state?
Well, I want to say that yeah, annoying is a good word. Obnoxious might be pushing it a little on his half. But yes, I'll say that I'm an obnoxious drunk. I will take credit for that.
Ms. Robertson, you say that Mr. Branham likes cats more than he likes you.
Lord. No, he doesn't like cats. He loves cats.
He loves cats.
Our two cats. Like,
What are their names?
Smokey and Matthew.
Smokey and Matthew. Do we have a picture of Smokey and Matthew?
We have pictures of, yep.
That's Matthew.
That's Matthew.
Why do you find his attraction to cats beyond normal?
He's made us late because the cats will be sitting in his lap sleeping like cats always do. And he won't get up.
That's Smokey.
That's Smokey. He won't get up because they're asleep and they're too happy and they're too at peace. And so he's made us up to an hour late being places because he waits for them to wake up out of their cat nap.
Mr. Branham, you know, cats sleep when they want to. You know, you wake them up, they
I
leave, they
understand
go
that.
back to sleep. They're fine.
I know, but you know, a cute little kitty crawls into your lap and puts their belly in your hand and expects you to rub their belly. It's, you know, you're kind of obligated to rub their belly.
Oh, listen, cats are hankty. They do what they want to. They couldn't care less. You know what I mean? But then again, I'm a dog person, so I don't know.
I like dogs too, but unfortunately, my cats are like dogs. They're not the kind of cats that
Cats
just do
that
whatever
don't
they
care,
want.
because they
care.
do have an attitude. You know,
they've
they're
got
kind
all
of
kinds
like.
of attitude. They're there at the door when I come in.
Really?
They demand attention. They need their food right then. They need their bellies rubbed. They need their heads scratched.
Sounds like
Do
children.
they need that or do you need that?
No, they need that. If I don't take care of those needs, they will let me know. They will make noises. They'll knock things over. They'll come and sit in my lap and flip their leg up and put their belly into my hand.
Yeah, so.
It's known that this is what I'm supposed to do.
Okay, I got you. I
I mean,
got you.
we all have obligations in this world. My obligations just include cats.
When divorce court before your vows continues, does Paul have any boundaries when he's out in public? If you would like your case heard on Divorce Court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or log on to our website at divorcecourt.com and join the conversation on Twitter at Divorce Court. Divorce Court before your vows continues.
You wrote something here that I don't understand. It's something about him screaming at children in the ice cream line. Could you explain that to me? And then we'll go on to the compatibility test and move on from there, but I did need to understand
Okay.
that.
Yeah. We went to his friend's wedding, and this is when this was our first trip together. We'd been together maybe 4 or 5 months. He's like, hey, come to my friend's wedding up in Washington, where I'm from. Okay. We're on a road trip. We get there, and we're hanging out with one of his friends, who is now one of my good friends, and we're in an ice cream shop. Of course, there are children in an ice cream shop. They're throwing a ball. They're having fun. It's summertime. This one gets livid and starts mumbling under his breath about, well, kids can't be doing this in places like this because it's a public place and they're going to hit somebody with that ball.
He didn't throw boob in there, did he?
He may as well have. But it gets to the point where he's yelling at these kids. He's like, you can't do this in here. You need to get out of here. And then he turns to the parents, and then we're ushering him out of the door because he's about to get stuff thrown at him or hit with a bag or any of these things.
Mr. Branham, did you get upset in the ice cream shop because the children were acting up?
I call them like I see them. If you're acting wrong, I'm going to tell you that you're acting wrong. Now, I understand it's an ice cream shop. It's a place that's geared towards families and children, and, children are, jovial and all that. But throwing balls
Jovial.
in a food establishment is just poor behavior. I don't care if you're 5 or 25 or 55. It's just poor behavior, and it's poor parenting because the parent should have had better control of their children to teach them not to throw the ball in the shop.
Okay, old
Mr.
man
Branham,
Paul.
I find you odd.
Yes. You're not the first judge.
But you are absolutely right on that point. I think we as parents in this generation have dropped the ball. I could no more throw a ball or act up in an ice cream shop than the man in the moon. My parents would have given too much of the making Johnny happy. Johnny don't need to be happy all
He's
the
not a
time.
special snowflake.
He ought to be glad he's getting any ice cream at all. He didn't need to behave himself. Sit down.
Exactly.
Quit bothering the other patrons. I'm with you on that one, Mr.
Exactly.
Brown. Now, I wouldn't have said anything, but I'm with you.
I have no shame. That's just what it
Yeah,
comes down to. I have no shame.
Well, you don't have any boundaries, is what you don't have.
This is also true.
I think that's what everything that has been said about you between the sex and the cats and the anger, All of that indicates, and the cookies that you couldn't stop eating. You have no boundaries.
This is
so
true.
everything, you bubble over the top of everything, which is probably annoying the crap out of her. I want to say one thing seriously, though, that concerned me about your compatibility test. In your compatibility test, you mentioned the word anger 3 times with respect to him. You want him to stop being angry. You need to control his anger. One of the things that really bothers you about him is how frequently and how angry he gets. And you in your papers didn't say anything about having an anger issue at all. And normally when something is so prominent to one party, at least the other party has an inkling that he may have an issue there. Do you think you have an anger issue?
I don't really think that I have an anger issue. I think that most of society has an issue tolerating things, is what it is that people are too tolerant in society of bad behavior, and they're not tolerant enough of people calling out bad behavior.
Uh-oh, Mr. Branham, you got supporters.
And that's where a lot of my anger comes from, is that I'm out and about in public and I'm dealing with people that are behaving poorly.
Are you chastising everybody as they walk along because you don't believe they're behaving in a manner that is
maybe
appropriate?
Like 7 out of 10.
Mrs. Robertson, is his anger, in fact, a social response, or is it something that you see in the context of your relationship?
Oh, for the most part, it's a social response. He's never angry with me, but being out in public with him when he's calling people out on their issues is really embarrassing.
I got it. Really embarrassing.
I don't shout at her or raise a hand at her or anything like that. I just don't like other people.
He's just mean to everyone else.
Judge Lynn Toller's ruling next.
Do you agree with Roxy that Paul's behavior in public is inappropriate? Call 1-800-282-1991 to vote now and see if America agrees with your opinion. He'll also receive some valuable offers. Call now, 1-800-282-1991.
Divorce Court. Judge Lynn Toller's ruling right now.
Typically, at some juncture during this process, I ask both parties to tell me why they love each other, because they've usually spent the rest of the process telling me why they can't stand one another. And I try to balance that with finding some reasons why I should give them their license back, because they're doing nothing but complaining. And indeed, you two have done nothing but complain. Having said that, I will say this. Y'all dig each other. You enjoy how odd he is. You enjoy how beautiful she is. She gets your sense of humor. She's just as funny as you are, just in a different way. She puts up with how odd and weird you are, and she kind of she gets into it, and you two have a similar intellect. You have a similar sense of humor. And now, Mr. Branham, I'm worried about you just a little bit. And I'm just going to put this out there, and I want you to hear me so you can understand where I'm coming from. Mr. Branham, you're playing a lot. And it's fun to play. It really is. But sometimes you run into people out in the world that aren't playing. And if you're playing and they're not playing, there's an opportunity for gross misunderstanding.
Yes.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And if your woman tells you, yo, man, he's not playing, I want you to hear her, because she's trying to protect you from yourself. Do you see what I'm saying? That's number one.
Fair enough.
Number two, when you get married, the woman is in charge of health care. She's the chief medical officer. And what she says in the healthcare field goes. So if she tells you don't eat that 13th cookie, put it down.
All right.
So Ms. Robertson, I'm going to hand you this marriage certificate. I want you to take this man, hold his hand, kiss his cheek, and keep him off the streets. This matter is adjourned.
Paul and Roxy support the judge's decision and are planning their wedding. Post a comment or submit your case at divorcecourt.com or call toll-free 1-877-311-2222. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Divorce Court.